So hello guys, good afternoon. I hope you are fine and that you have had a very good day. As we come to the end of day today, we cannot close without a video to share knowledge and also to share experience from the taxi industry. And this video is not only for drivers, it is also for consumers of taxi services, either the boda boda or the two-wheelers, as well as the four-wheelers, the normal taxi vehicles that we know, from the small vehicles of below 1300cc engine capacity all the way to the big vehicles that are nowadays referred to as the vans. So those are the 7-seaters all the way to the 9-seaters. So the video of today, I intend to explain to you reasons. Actually, I have made 8 reasons explaining why it is very, very easy to mess up with the attitude of a taxi driver. I know that a lot of people, when they speak of taxi drivers in Kenya, they don't make very good references or very good, mentions of the characters of drivers. A lot of people would say that, apart from very few, drivers, most of them will not have a character that is admirable. But from my experience, when I used to, to be on the road so much, and from the stories that I get from my own drivers that drive my cars on the road, I have, highlighted 8 points and 8 reasons why, every person who intends to become a taxi driver must be very, very careful not to end up like the current taxi drivers who don't have a very good attitude towards the industry, and also for the consumers of taxi services. So like the clients, the riders, people who request for these taxi services. By knowing these factors that contribute to poor attitude of drivers, you will be able to manage drivers correctly and also support them to improve their attitude. You should not be the cause for drivers' poor attitude. So one thing that we need to know about taxi driving is that it is one of the most dynamic job that one can do compared to what we go through in our employment places. We work from 8 to 5. We are paid at the end of the month. We know how much we get paid. So things don't change so much in the employment space. The same thing for people who have businesses. You know that certain days they are good clients, other days you don't receive clients at all. So at least there are predictable things about your businesses that you can talk about. But when it comes to this taxi business, you'll find that a lot of things remain in the gray area, remain to be unknown until the driver, walks out of their house and start driving. That's when they will discover whether their day will be good or will be bad. They are not sure which direction or which side of the town they are going to operate. They don't know what type of clients they will carry. They don't know actually what type of trips they will make. So there is a lot of anxiety right from the onset. Even before you leave your house, drivers have desires that I pray that today I get a trip to Westlands. I pray that I get a trip to the airport. But a lot of those wishes never get fulfilled. You will get a trip to Gekomba when you were desiring to go to the airport. And so that anxiety right from the house, puts drivers in a very delicate situation to be tampered with when it comes to their emotions, their feelings, and their attitude. So if you are a driver intending to get into this space, you must, brace yourself to encounter that uncertainty. The first thing that makes taxi drivers very delicate to being emotional and being developing a bad attitude is due to the fact that the uncertainty that I have spoken about right from the house. They have desires of where they would like to go, but they don't end up going into those places, and probably sometimes they get trips to very worst destination where they don't get return trips. So if your first trip is to a destination that you don't desire, then there is a high likelihood that you might be very unhappy throughout the day, and you must watch out not to be influenced by the initial trip and then you ruin your day for nothing. The second one, sometimes drivers make good money. For instance, when it is a holiday or on a Sunday, drivers can make even 10,000 in a single day, and then the next day on Monday they can make as low as 1,000. So like that abrupt shift of income. When you make more money today, like, you can set yourself a higher target for tomorrow, but again you find that tomorrow you make even 20 times less than what you made the previous day. And, like, that changes your attitude, it changes your mood, and you don't feel good. So when that happens, drivers tend to have some pain in their heart, and it is very easy for them to treat in a way that is not very right. The other one is issues with vehicles. These vehicles are made by by a human being. They are relatively old vehicles. We import them from Japan when they are close to 10 years old. Again, these vehicles, you can park it in the evening when it is in very good condition. When you are waking up in the morning, even without any indicators of mechanical failure, you find an issue. The vehicle is unable to go to work, and you need like 20,000 to sort that vehicle instantly. And where do you get it from if you have not been saving? You need to borrow from someone. The vehicle ends up staying in the garage for a day or two without any prior kind of preparation. So that is something that is very common, because vehicles, in most cases, they don't notify you that they are going to break down. And then that money becomes like an emergency, and most of the time drivers don't have that money to take care of that vehicle. So that can easily tamper with how they feel and their attitude towards the business. The other thing is the issues with police. A lot of drivers, for instance, they have told me that when they have closed their job at 7 p.m. and they are preparing to go home, they have already, saved some money, like 3,000 for the day, and they are already going home. Along the way, they encounter a policeman who stops them and takes the whole 3,000, the whole saving for the day. How can you feel about it? Maybe 3,000 is not a lot of money. You can make it the next day. But imagine your earnings for the entire day have just been taken away by the police. Just like that, when you are preparing to go home and maybe pass by a butchery and buy 1 kg of meat for your family. It's not something that is easy. Unless you intentionally decide to let go some of these things, they can stay in your heart for quite some time. The other thing is, simple things like the hygiene and the cleanliness of your car. I experienced so many times that, I take my car to the car wash, and, right from the car wash, you put your app on and you get a customer. And coincidentally, the first customer that you get when your car comes from the car wash always tend to be the dirty customers. They will get inside your car with some level of mud, or they are dusty, or they have luggages that are not as clean. So those luggages will tend to touch the covers of your seat, or even the boot space, and leave some spots. So those are things that look a bit small, but I can tell you they count a lot in terms of how they make drivers feel and how their attitude develop towards the job. The other one is, a lot of, for your car to pass inspection, when you take it to the NTSA inspection centers, it has to be very clean in terms of the external and the body. It shouldn't have a lot of dents, and that's why you'll find a lot of Uber cars, they are very well maintained. They don't have dents, they don't have scratches. So from time to time, Uber vehicles are taken for bodywork, and they are repainted and those kind of stuff, so that they can look nice. Immediately you move out of the garage, boda guys or the mkokoteni guys, they come and scratch your vehicle right from the garage. And I have experienced that so many times. So that also is something else that, put driver in a very bad situation, because they feel like you guys are undermining me, you are looking down at me because of this job that does not pay, of this job that we work so hard under the sun, throughout the day. So a lot of those things, interfere with the driver's feelings. So the other one, you need to know that the things I'm talking about here might look normal for people who own vehicles, even for private use, because all these things happen. You get scratched by other vehicles, by bodas, by tuk-tuks. You get arrested by the police. But what is the probability of these things happening to a private car owner compared to a taxi driver? A taxi driver drives like 10 times more than a private vehicle owner. That is the difference. And the probability of these things happening to a taxi driver are 10 times more. If you have a private vehicle, if you're arrested by a policeman once a year, know that an Uber driver is arrested 10 times a year. because a taxi driver will drive around 60 to 80,000 kilometers per year, while a lot of private vehicle owners will drive just 10 to 15,000 kilometers per year. So all the encounters that happen to you in 1 year, they can happen to a driver in 1 month. Imagine. So like every 1 month there is an encounter with a policeman. Every 1 month there is an encounter with an incident. Even if those incidents are not very extreme, but they take away something from drivers. And over time, bitterness develops. And if you are not careful, that bitterness can make your attitude as a driver completely negative about this business, and you will have nothing to like about it. So this is my advice to anyone who intends to come into this business as a driver. I have already, advised users and clients and, the riders. When you come in, please always approach drivers with a lot of sympathy, with a lot of understanding that these guys are doing one of the hardest job on earth, because they are dealing with different kind of people. Every day they deal with a lot of uncertainties, and it is very, very easy like for them to be in a more vulnerable position than you are. So they expect you to treat them better than you expect them to treat you better. So that is for riders. But for people who want to come in as drivers, please develop shock absorbers. The things I've spoken about here, it doesn't mean that they will not happen. They will definitely happen to you as long as you are on the roads. But you need to develop shock absorbers to intentionally decide that you are not going to be hurt by those things that I have mentioned. And the first thing for you to develop that consciousness is by being aware of them. I have already outlined them for you, so nothing will come to you as a surprise. But remember, my list is not exhaustive, so there are many other things that could trigger your bad attitude every day that you hit the roads. The other thing is, I have said, intentionally develop a positive attitude. Wake up and tell yourself every day that no matter the direction where I'm going, I will get a client there. Even if I don't get a client there, I will get a client somewhere else. Decide to go any destination that you get. Okay, sometimes you might avoid certain destinations because you know how things go on that side, but you can decide that no matter what, I will not be unhappy with a trip that is taking me to a place that I had not desired. The final thing that I advise drivers to do, so that they maintain a positive attitude, is to have something that they can show from the business. Drivers don't save money from this business because they touch small monies every day and they consume close to all of it every single day. But my advice has always been this one: save like 500 shillings per day. By the end of 1 year, you'll find that you'll have close to 120, 130,000. And you continue building on that kitty. So if someone tries to tell you that the business is bad and over 1 or 2 years you have already saved for yourself 300,000, tell me how many people are able to save 300k from their employment salary in 2 years? Not many. So the moment you have something that you can show to others and to yourself that you have gotten this from this business, then the business becomes, justifiable for you, and you become a defender of the industry instead of you becoming a person who attacks it. But if you have been doing Uber for 5 years and you have nothing to show, all that you do is to pay bills with the money that you get from this industry. You cannot show a saving that you have accumulated from the industry. There is no single asset you have bought from the many years you have been in this business. All you have done is to pay school fees, is to pay rent and buy food. I'm telling you, it's very easy for your attitude to be negative. And I came to realize that the moment you build a kitty where you are saving and you see those savings grow, the more motivated you become to even save more. So guys, that's my advice for you today. I hope it helps you in a way to understand the industry and also to make the industry easier for the drivers who are out there. So that's all for today. Goodbye and cheers.